And we are joined now by UW-La Crosse political science professor Joe Heim to give us a little bit of analysis on tonight's speech. Thanks for being here as always, Joe. We talked a little bit about this, or they did in the report, about the middle class economics that the president spent his first half of the speech on, increasing taxes on the wealthiest Americans, tripling of child care tax credit, paid sick leave, just a few of the things that he talked about. Those are pretty partisan things, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. I think his base was real happy to hear that part, but the reality is with the Republican Congress, it's almost like he ignored the fact that Congress is Republican. Most of that simply cannot pass a Congress of this sort.
Did you hear anything that he said that you think both sides can agree on moving forward?
I think some of the tax credits could go through. I think he talked about tax reforms. I think the Republicans favor tax reforms. Both parties favor cyber security of some kind. It's very clear. I think they will generally support his foreign policy as far as what we're doing in Iraq right now. It may not be quite the way he would want it, but I think he's generally going to get support from Congress on that. I think my own thinking is that the infrastructure issue could come back, and I think they will support it this time around. Republicans opposed it in the past mainly because it was a cost expense thing, but I think they'll support it. So those are some things, and tax reform I think especially, I think both sides can agree on.
You said that this was one of the bigger points that you heard in the speech. He was asking Congress to authorize force against ISIS.
That was a surprise, because frankly, as you know, we're there. We're fighting basically against ISIS. So what he wants is Congress to take responsibility at least for supporting the policy that we have over there. And I think he wants it to be bipartisan. So, excuse me, I think that's one of the surprises in the speech, and probably he's going to get one of the headlines tomorrow.
And you also talked a little bit about the second half of the speech and how he talked about a lot about values in that.
Yeah, his last part of the speech, where he did spend time defending his foreign policy, that part of it, I think Republicans would not necessarily support, because I think they would like a little more aggressive, more assertive foreign policy. But then he went into the values issues and American values and his vision. I thought that was a very uplifting part of the speech. It would give most people hope. The fact is, it implied that you could get away from partisanship and kind of all work together as Americans. And I think Americans like to hear that kind of stuff, so it's a very optimistic view of the future, which unfortunately in Washington doesn't always work out.
And we heard from the Republican response as well, and it wasn't quite as attacking on the president's speech so much as it was, here's our priorities moving forward.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that you mentioned this earlier, that both Republicans were not attacking him and he was not attacking Republicans. Maybe that's a positive sign for the future. The Republican response really focused on their agenda, what they were going to do. They listened to the people in November, and they're going to respond to that basically, and they laid out an agenda. At least some of those items I think the president can agree to some degree.
All right. Thanks a lot for your time, Joe. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.